right, we're in 9.2 now. We're going to continue talking about conversions within the English system, metric system, and between the two of them, but now with regards to area and volume. So let's first talk about area. How would you, if somebody asked you what area means, how would you describe area? Well, most students would say kind of the stuff on the inside, right? If we have a two-dimensional figure, then area means the stuff on the inside. So how much stuff do we have, area do we have on the inside? And so if I have 1 unit by 1 unit, I have 1 square unit. If I have a 1 inch by 1 inch, then the area inside here would be 1 square inch. If I have a 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter square, then I have 1 centimeter squared as my area inside, right? And so starting off very basic, if I give you this figure and I said each one of these squares is 1 square unit, then what would be the area of this figure? Well, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Well, then the area would be 12 square units, or units squared. Or most of us know that we can find the area of a rectangle by doing length times width, or base times height. 3 times 4 also gives us 12. So very basic at first, and then we're going to get a little more complicated as we go. Okay? What happens though if we want to convert within the English system and we're talking about area? Well, if this is a 1 foot by 1 foot square, then isn't the area 1 square foot? But if this is a 12 inch by 12 inch, same thing as 1 foot, right? Then really the area is 144 square inches. Same area. So that means for every 1 square foot, there's actually 144 square inches. We might need to use that conversion later on if we're converting from square feet to square inches or vice versa. Same idea with yards and feet. If this is 1 yard by 1 yard, the area here would be 1 yard squared. But if it is 3 feet by 3 feet, then the area is really 9 square feet. So what that means is that for every 1 square yard, there's really 9 square feet. Make sure you know those unit conversions because it'll help as we go through some of these problems. Here's some other English conversions in area. We have our feet squared to inches squared, our yards squared to feet squared, acres to feet squared or yards squared, and then miles squared into acres, okay? Maybe you should find that on your formula sheet so you're comfortable with where all of those are at, so that when we see them on homework and the test, you know where those conversions are. Let's look at example number 2. It says here, after Alaska, Wyoming is the least densely populated state. The population of Wyoming is 568,158, and its area is 97,814 square miles. What is Wyoming's population density? Well, population density means how many people are there for every square mile. Okay, so that's what we're going to kind of do. We're going to try to figure out how many people there are per land, per square mile in this particular case. So how many people are there in Wyoming? And how many square miles are there in Wyoming? Well, using the information from the problem, I can say that there are 568,158 people per 97,814 square miles. Now, if I want population density, I really want people per square mile, and I want that denominator to be a 1. So I want to divide these two numbers so I can figure out actually how many people there are for every 1 square mile, not 97,000 square miles. So I'm going to go ahead and divide. And I got 5.8. That means 5.8 people per square mile. In every 1 square mile, there's about 6 people in Wyoming. So you can imagine what a square mile looks like. And you imagine that about 6 people live in that square mile on average, right? So not very populated, okay? All right. What happens though if I ask you to convert from English to metric or metric to English in area? So here's a couple more conversions that we might need to use if we're going from English to metric or metric to English and we're talking about area. Find those on your formula sheet, and let's do example 3 together. Example number 3 says, a property in Italy is advertised for $545,000 for 6.8 hectares. We might not really be able to tell what hectares are, so maybe we need to convert this a little bit differently. It says here find the area of the property in acres, and maybe that'll make more sense to us. So we want to take the 6.8 hectares and we want to convert it into acres. So I'm going to start with the 6.8 hectares. I want to get rid of the hectares and into acres. So can I use a unit fraction? If I want to get rid of hectares and into acres, I want the hectares to be on bottom and the acres to be on top. And is there a conversion for hectares and acres? Well, it looks like here for every 1 acre there are 0.4 hectares. So I can use those numbers in my unit fraction. And so I'm going to take the 6.8, divide it by 0.4, and I can say that 6.8 hectares is really the same thing as 17 acres. So we can kind of imagine what 17 acres looks like. And so this piece of property is $545,000 for how many acres? Well, 17 now, right? And so the next part says, what is the price per acre? Well, I know that it's $545,000. I now know that there's 17 acres instead of saying 6.8 hectares. And then I can divide and figure out what the price is per acre. So for every acre, you're paying about $32,058.82 per acre. Making sure that you have it labeled. And I always kind of use units to kind of guide me. I knew that it wanted price per acre, so price needed to be on top and acres needed to be on bottom. So I could have dollars per acre in my final answer. Okay, using units to kind of guide you kind of helps you stay organized and helps you start with where you're at and figure out where you need to be in the end. Making sure you know how to convert all the different pieces of area. We'll talk about volume in the next video.